call our meeting to order with a pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you have our minutes from our Thursday, January 14th meeting, are there any corrections, additions, clarifications? Can the minutes be approved as presented?
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Second.
A motion has been made to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Treasurer's report. Before you see our treasurer's report, our total cash available in general fund is $224,440.38. Total cash available in reserve accounts, $76,509.30. Total cash available in fire tax fund accounts, $3,430.16. Total cash available in sewer fund accounts, $324,028.73. Total cash available in liquid fuel accounts, $269,752.89. Look on the back. We have no outstanding loan issues. Can the treasurer's report be accepted as presented?
Move to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Motion been moved and second to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Approval and payment of bills. Before you see a total for bills payable on as of February 11th. On the general fund, you'll see $109,898.15. Sewer fund, $90,607.54. Liquid fuels fund, $6,694.01. Fire tax fund, $2,750. Borough managers has informed me that the $34,699.91 to Telco has already been reimbursed by our insurance company, but is not reflected in our accounting here tonight.
Well, no, not.
Right.
Wasn't deposited.
Oh, it's been deposited, but it's February. It was,
It's not on these.
right.
Make a motion to authorize payment of bills as presented.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to pay the bills as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Public hearing. Seeing as we have none and none were submitted electronically, we'll move on to report of the Borough Engineer. Ty?
Okay, the only thing I have on the list today is review we did for 3209 Old Turnpike Road. This is our fifth review. I issued a letter. I cut back on items that were originally approved or resolved. I just took them out of the letter. The main items that are in here, it still has to do with parking. Even though there are 9 pages, there's still several areas where these parking spaces apply. If you have any questions as you go through the letter, just interrupt me and I'll answer your questions. I'm going to start on page 3. I just like to summarize what we're doing. And I've given you a copy of the plan that was submitted. As you can see, there's 9 parking spaces along the east side of the building. West, please. And then up on the upper parking area, there are 5 parking spaces. These parking spaces were not part of the original concept plan. They were looking to use 5 parking spaces from Arbor Inn. They have chosen not to go to neighboring properties for off-street parking. So they are looking to provide all required parking on the site. The parking that you see does meet the requirements for light industrial commercial site. If you look at the last page, this is our lighting plan. As you can see, that the upper parking lot does not have any lighting. The lighting that is shown on this drawing is from the building lights that was granted a variance from the zoning hearing board. But this upper section of the parking was not included as part of that variance request with the planning commission. I'm sorry, with the zoning hearing board. So we are requesting that a lighting fixture be provided and grid that's shown on this drawing be extended up to that parking area.
Right, and because that wasn't part of the original variance, then that would have to meet borough standards for lighting.
Yes.
Or they could choose to go back and
Or they could go
and
back.
amend their variance to include that area.
Correct, they could go back to the
Yeah.
building, they need a new variance. It wouldn't be-
Probably a pole and a light would be cheaper.
They would have to go back to the zoning.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But right now, the lighting that they're proposing is only what's shown on the building. There are no light poles proposed or shown on this drawing. Another thing that we have a concern with is that there is no access from that upper parking area to the building. Where the turnaround is shown, that's about 6 feet difference in elevation. Between the two parking lots is about 8 feet difference. So they'll need to provide some type of access between the two points.
But that access does not have to be like ADA, does it? Because the ADA would have to be closest to the building and things like that.
No, it does not.
So it doesn't have to be a ramp, it could just be steps.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. There are some existing curb stops along the embankment. I'm requesting that they be removed so that they're not used as parking spaces. And I'm also requesting that a guide rail be put along that side of the parking area to make sure that,
So some of those are back over the edge.
Now,
Yeah.
the guide rail is not going to keep you from going, but it at least will tell you where the edge of that parking is and where that embankment's at. So it's not there as unless we put a barrier there.
Could they put shrubbery or landscape it enough with something substantial, or,
Sure.
you would need some sort of break or physical delineation that's, downhill from that point on.
So with those items, the plan would be acceptable to meet the current uses only.
Light industrial. Or the light. industrial.
Correct, the light industrials that they are proposing on the plan. The second plan that I gave you shows the future parking. It's adding an additional handicap parking space on the east side of the building. So there will be 2 handicap parking, which is what is required between 25 and 50 parking spaces. This plan proposes to provide 31 parking spaces. The tenants 1, 2, and 3 will be retail, and tenant 4 will remain as the printing press. But this plan falls short of the required parking by 7 parking spaces. 38 parking spaces are required. In my letter, I've broken down how those numbers are come up, and if you would like for me to go through all that, I can. But from a future parking, the plan does not meet the zoning requirements. And they did not ask for a variance on the parking, and nor have we recommended that they get one. That's one thing that we shy from, so.
Well, if you're talking about future layout and future uses, then the variance be depending on future uses, is that right?
Yes, yes. So, but at this point, I would not recommend final plan approval until the future parking is either resolved by changing use or providing the 7 additional parking spaces. But the board has the right to go ahead and give them conditional approval based on providing that information, or would you like to see the change the plan?
Council have any, any direction, or you just want to wait till the final plan comes in with them resolving it? Whether they choose to go get variances for the lighting and the second proposal, where they can figure it out and send in the final thing. I don't know what they would want to do, to be honest with you.
Well, you can note as a condition on an approval that, that parking would be, parking needs and parking requirements would be dictated by future uses.
Would they have to have less parking, the 12 spaces towards the north, I think that is, if that became retail? Is there any way by changing the use of the buildings, they could reduce parking?
Retail
Requires more.
requirements.
Yeah. The only way to reduce the number of parking spaces is for 1, 2, and 3. One of them or all of them to remain as light commercial. If all of them or just a portion of them go into retail, then we'll have to take a look at the parking, and parking would have to be approved as part of the conditional use for each use.
I would hesitate on recommending approval with pending conditions, because this plan has been more than 2 years
Yeah,
in the process.
and also, I mean, they themselves have discussed different mixed use, and including retail.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to go ahead and approve something conditionally based on them providing a mixture of uses that doesn't go worst case, or, you know what I'm trying to say? Because if you say, okay, yeah, we swear we'll never have all commercial, it'll be light industrial, then the economics change and they get a tenant, and that's what they want to do, then, we've already, sort of given up the right to make sure it's done correctly. Although I expect in the future, there's going to be less and less parking available for, under the general conditions and zoning and that for stuff. Just my thought. So if there's no motion, we'll move on. If there is a motion, we can vote. Is there any other discussion?
Just, are they aware of that they don't need the parking?
Are they aware of what?
Have you made them aware that they don't have enough spaces on the?
In the letter.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
where their thinking is at,
Well, the parking that they're providing is in what they have provided on the
Previous plan.
Right, you're saying
And I
for the
had-
retail, they,
And I had indicated in that letter and at that time that they were short parking.
okay, so they know the deal.
They have not done anything.
And the lighting,
to
or where they need lighting.
The lighting came up as part of this plan because with that being future parking,
Right.
that the lighting wasn't going to be required until at that time.
The future is now.
Well, yeah, they chose not to get the agreement next door and to put the parking on there, therefore they should have thought, hey, it has to be lit.
Right. and-
Yeah, it's just sort of an oversight.
One other item that I'm looking to have changed on the plan is the note that they have about the sidewalk. Let's see if I have it here. The note they have on the plan states that the parking will be constructed in 3 years. I'm proposing that the sidewalk requirements were deferred, not waived. Borough Council requires that sidewalks be installed within 3 years. I'm asking that they revise the note to state that the sidewalk will be constructed 3 years from plan approval,
I don't know
final
where-
plan approval.
I don't know where you would put a sidewalk. The auto body shop doesn't have sidewalks.
Yeah, and that-
Arbor Inn doesn't have sidewalks.
I know.
A sidewalk to nowhere.
well, that's exactly what happens, and then eventually all the sidewalks get connected. So I'm gonna note to council that, we've been deferring sidewalks being put in and we're getting burned on trying to stretch that capital cost throughout 3 years because we're having problems with other deferrals that are not keeping up with their agreement.
It was the argument Scott Landis made, to not put in because you can't get to the bridge because of the guide rails put in. But if you, at some point.
But at the other end, where the houses start, there's a sidewalk.
Right. Yes,
To me, that made more sense.
And Acro Labs doesn't want to put sidewalks in because they go, well, the post office doesn't have sidewalks
Same
in.
thing, it
Right.
goes to nowhere.
But if you don't ever start putting
Right.
sidewalks in,
And we have no authority to tell the post office they have to put sidewalks.
they told us if we want them, we would have to put them in.
And that was an issue also with Goodwill that we stuck our guns to, and I know that was probably pretty expensive for them, but I still see people walking.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on there, so, you know,
And Exeter Supply, we worked with them and had them put sidewalk not on the side they were developing, but on the side that was actually being used for walking.
Yeah, sort of a side note, yeah, I've been reading about electric vehicles and all this, proposals not to have any more fossil fuel cars by 2030. And I read that the state with the most electric vehicles is California, and those vehicles are driven, something like, 50% less than normal cars are driven. And they don't know if that's because people were driving less or people who buy electric vehicles just drive less to begin with. But they say this is all because people are trying to walk more or bicycle, and that's part of the whole plan. So I think if you're gonna, capture everything, you still got to think about sidewalks. Anyway.
So access to that 12 parking spaces at the top of it for the future is on Esther Street, the unoccupied,
Yes,
coming in from Bingham.
the future parking does provide access to the building.
Yeah, I mean, who then owns that lane, the driveway?
Esther Street,
Yes,
currently the property owners on either side.
so, but that's showing going down the middle, so it's partially on the
They-
adjoining property.
They own both sides.
They own both sides of that
If they own both sides, you
Well,
can't,
there's an existing right of way, and if they didn't even own it, there still would be the right of way.
here is, you have,
But if there are any utility, were there utility lines under there? Okay.
Is the zoning district boundary also the property line boundary? Is that the question?
Esther Street is kind of the boundary between R4 and C10. And they own a large chunk of C4, of R4 property.
Okay, so they own both sides of Esther
Esther
Street.
Street, until you get down closer toward Binghamton, and then on the left side going towards Binghamton would be Arbor Inn on the one side and a residence on the other side. But you get pretty far down to Arbor Inn, which I'm down here where,
Yeah, I always pictured it being down the middle. The property owner on one side owns one half and the other.
They each though are able to use it for ingress and egress.
Okay,
and there is already a gravel driveway in existence coming in off of Binghamton Street at that location.
just wanted to make sure we don't end up creating a problem between other property owners by granting access that way. That's all.
Well, in reality, this is not a very clear drawing, because I thought typically you must show property boundaries. And I don't see that depicted along the possible future gravel roadway.
I don't, no, there's, well, Arbor Inn is the, property to the west.
Correct. But typically, you would also show your property to the north,
Yeah, but
and that's not depicted here. other land shown
Yeah,
up
there's one property line that's.
right here.
This,
This is the property line up here. There should be another one up in here somewhere. But see, it's not being shown.
it's not,
That's what I'm trying to
you're
say.
not to it
Yeah,
yet.
here's the property line coming this way. I think there's a line that goes up here somewhere.
You're,
And this line continues on, but at some place it's not.
Not shown.
it's much further.
Typically, you show the adjoining property when you have a property development, you show the property line, so it's debatable. So,
So we're not taking any action on it.
I hear no motion and I'm not advocating for one, so, Ty, is there anything else to report?
No, that's it for me.
Hot damn. Anything else on zoning officer code enforcement?
There is a report in here after Ty's report that hits kind of, sort of.
All zoning and permits and issues and things, right?
Yeah, there were 43 basically courtesy shoveling notices that were sent out to the property owners along Elm Street because of ongoing issues. And we tried to not target any individual, we just sent it to everybody, though some people didn't read the letter that said we sent it to everybody.
So you already got some feedback.
We had 2 people contact us, one who was very upset because he snow blows for everybody and he's never blown any snow into the street. Then the other gentleman who was kind of upset because when his girlfriend called him, she said, we got a letter and she never read part of everybody. And as he explained, he was very informative. The only people I didn't send a letter to was the school district, and apparently I need to send a letter to the school district because he said when they cleaned their sidewalks, they blew the snow into the street, but he said basically, once the plow went through, all the property owners along there went out, shoveled their cars out and threw the snow back into the street.
But this has been sort of a historic problem down there, Roadmaster.
This is, yeah, the recent snow was the second time the big snow that this occurred.
Yeah, so the first snow back in December, same issue occurred.
Yep.
And then this occurred with much more magnitude.
I mean, the
And
recommendation.
I've sort of recommended to the Roadmaster that we get a dash cam. So once he clears the road down there, we'll now have a timestamp photo of that. And then if there's ever goes back and then we see something else, we'll have much more data for property owners to converse with.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, it's blown back in.
The other is to contemplate making both sides down there as no emergency route.
Let's give them all a chance to do the right thing first before we go forth, I think. So, unless council wants to be
Well, we
heavier hand on the shovel.
wouldn't be doing that right away anyway. That would be something to contemplate for in the next
Yeah,
snow season.
well, we'll go for there. Was there a lot of complaints of PennDOT coming and throwing snow on St. Lawrence Avenue?
Yes.
Well, I didn't complain of the borough.
So I personally did not receive any complaints other than my complaint myself.
We had a little old lady crying on the phone because she had gotten somebody to shovel it, and because they came that many days after the storm, it basically threw chunks of ice onto all the sidewalks.
On the sidewalk she just paid to get cleared. And typically, if we get a complaint now, someone wanted to walk down the sidewalk and it's still covered, we're probably gonna end up sending a code warning to that person. So, I don't know, that, you know, I mentioned probably the only thing we could do is I know if you're a municipality, you can negotiate with PennDOT to do a portion of state plowed roads within your municipality. I don't know what that would be. I've asked Roadmaster to look into that just to understand it. Because we got hit ourselves at our own property line twice or 3 times, let alone the bridge, because the sidewalks on the bridge by Turkey Hill and the post office, only reason we got the sidewalks installed is because we had to sign off maintenance and snow removal on them. So every time PennDOT goes through there and throws it up on there, we have to go back out again and clear that. So we're gonna have a continual battle on some of these larger snows and maybe there's other ways we could think about doing it. You know, that's all I'm suggesting. So. Probably we could not plow state road right now with the vehicles we have. So that would be a big cost analysis benefit thing we have to sit and think about. So anyway. Anything else? No. Borough Solicitor,
I am covered elsewhere in the agenda.
Mayor, anything to report?
I have nothing formal to report. I just wanted to reiterate what I had said last month. We were looking for a quiet time for January, and the police report indicates that's exactly what happened. There were no juvenile arrests, no burglaries, no robberies, no vandalism, only one DUI and one drug offense.
Is that because juveniles don't like the cold this time?
That could very well be. Just the comments, we were just discussing something about removal of ice. I want to say kudos to our roadmaster and the crew. They have hit on a way to easily clean cul-de-sacs.
And that's because we have a smaller vehicle, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The perpetual person who complained to me about snow removal in our cul-de-sac came over and said that he even called the borough manager and said, what a fine job.
You must have hung up on me.
I don't think I got the phone call.
I think I did.
Susan got it. But people can't tell us apart on the phone anyway, so.
Thanks for your report, Mayor. Budget and finance, anything, Allison?
Other than all those darn audits we've been doing, and our borough auditors will be in next week, starting Tuesday, so if you.
Streets and lights, anything?
One report on the street lighting. We had the solar light on Orchard Court looked at by Rick Olszewski. Huge wasp nest was in there that might have interrupted the circuit board, so he took care of that. He got that fixed and reset it, so that works. And the light that is on Levan Street up in Marywood, the LED light, that might be a problem inside of that main transformer box for MedEd, so I have a ticket into them to check that.
They weren't killer wasps, were they? No.
I don't think so.
They're still alive yet, so obviously.
I will say they were still alive in the middle of winter time, so that box kept them warm.
Planning Commission, anything, Allison?
Only if Joan tells us that somebody plans to show up for
Yeah.
February. Then nobody's contacted the borough office about showing up.
Yeah, I thought they had contacted you, but yes, I did receive a call or an email from a realtor and from the attorney for the property owner saying that there was an agreement of sale and they needed to come before the planning commission, but I'll make sure that they give you a call tomorrow.
All right. Sanitary sewer, anything?
I actually do have one thing for
Oh,
that.
back up.
I did receive, I didn't print it out because it was like a line long, but the people from the BB Ministries for Blitz Partners emailed me asking if council would consider waiving their late fees on their sewer bill, because it took, she claims, but she didn't show me any proof, 3 weeks between the time they wrote the check until Mount Penn Water deposited it, and they got charged late fees, and they're asking for those to be waived.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I sent my electric bill 3 weeks early and I got a late fee. They said they never got it.
But
I would say the mail.
I wouldn't waive anything for Phoebe because they never gave us any money towards the.
Oh, this is Phoebe, not the residents of Phoebe.
no, this is Phoebe themselves.
So-
That's
Yeah,
one
because they
word.
never contributed towards the upkeep of the.
Can you email Mount Penn and ask them if they have a copy of the check and when it was posted?
I'll call Steve.
And that'll be our response. We'll investigate. How's that sound? Why wouldn't they be using electronic banking? You know, at some point, am I just,
Especially the institution of fee.
right, no, never mind. Trash and recycling,
Well, I did have sanitary.
oh, go back, sanitary sewer.
I have just received an updated copy of a resolution from a sewer authority. So we now have a 2020 document to base doing a new sewer use ordinance, which is much smaller, only 14 pages long. So we should be able to do a consolidated new sewer use ordinance. So that's in the works.
Fascinating. Trash recycling, anything? The typical 2 complaints a week?
More. Plus. During the snow, they did come out and do Thursday, but I don't know how many people got trash out, but.
Recreation, nothing to report.
Nope,
Emergency management, nothing.
nothing new.
Zoning, hearing, nothing.
Nothing that we know of.
Nothing in municipal lands.
Snow covered.
No cover.
Insurance, we sort of talked about our claim for the traffic signal reimbursement. Newsletter, no big push to get something out for the Easter egg hunt, I'm sure.
Well, we're gonna get it out and say that
There is no Easter
that
egg.
there is not gonna be an Easter egg hunt.
Just to sort of get council's feel, I don't see how we're gonna have a summer program again this year either, at the current rate of how things are moving along. Is there any other thought process on
I just
that?
actually saw something from the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum. They're forging ahead with their plans for World War II weekend because the state has said for outdoor gatherings, you have 7,500 people.
Yes, and are you supposed to have the mask and social distance? That,
I don't know.
I think it's too early to call.
Yeah, but you almost got to start figuring things now if you're going to hire someone, if you think you're going to have it, you need to be looking for leaders and stuff like that. So maybe by next month, we're going to have to vote yay or nay. So let's leave it at that. How's that?
Yeah, I think
We'll
we can still afford to wait till next month to see what happens there.
So delay that notice of this news.
well,
Not the,
egg hunt.
Yeah, the egg hunt, yes, but not anything else. Library liaison, anything new?
Still doing curbside pickup and, online programming.
For manager report, we see this in our file folder here with the filings, the financial audits and the permitting.
Comes up at every-
Unfinished business, statements of financial interest. When are they due? By March,
May 1st.
May 1st? Plenty of time.
And I forgot to put it on the agenda, but the World War II, the plaque there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, that's a part of it, that's the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the top part.
The honor roll is much bigger.
Where's location 1? Is it out here somewhere?
That's the.
No,
It's a bulletin board at the bottom of the steps.
You walk right past them.
I saw number 2, number 3.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
too.
there's a
I even
sign.
went back down.
There's a sign on the bulletin board. It blends in.
Oh, yeah, I looked for, here's where it would be. And
It was too much stuff to take over everything.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a good place?
I don't know. I don't know.
We're
I didn't
leaning
notice number
towards-
1.
I like
Towards
number
this-
2.
The stairwell.
Because it's up the first landing. The problem I have with that at the first area is it's a busy area. You got a trash and recycling can sitting right
We
there,
have to move all the stuff.
but then,
Yeah. Well, the other thing is it's not right in front of you. You walk in and there's
if you turn to go up the steps, it's right there. There's electric right there to put a light shining on it.
We've moved the emergency lighting up. We have already ordered the LED light to shine over top of it.
It almost would seem it'd be a more place of prominence in that stairwell landing, because they have a very nice big wall.
And there's nothing else.
Nothing else,
Nothing
even
else around.
standing there, would be in your field of vision at some point, so,
Number 2.
so.
Yeah.
Number 3 has a fire alarm box.
Yeah, we have to pay to have that moved.
So is council leaning now towards the landing? Is that what I think I hear? Based
I'll
on,
make a motion, we place the World War II memorial at position number 2 on the first landing up the steps and the stair tower.
I'll second that.
motion been moved second concerning location of the memorial plaques. All those in favor of the landings, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, Greg gave you a thumbs up.
Firefighter tax relief.
Yeah, if you recall, Deputy Jordan from Exeter Township Fire Department was here a couple months ago and explained that the state has expanded the allowance for first responder tax relief to up to 100%.
Right, it had been capped at 20%.
And we discussed, we wait and see what Exeter Township would do. They currently have advertised that they're gonna do 50%, 50, on the real estate tax. And they plan to vote on that at their next meeting on the 22nd. They've been advertising, I actually have to advertise for a month or something like that.
And it's just a municipality.
Yes, it has nothing to do with the school district. They're still talking.
Working.
They made a presentation to the school district. The response was favorable, but they haven't moved on it yet. They want to investigate more, what the financial impact would be.
Mhm.
But the township themselves is going to change their real estate credit, if you want to call it credit, to 50%.
We would need to totally change our ordinance anyway, because we're not using tax credit with Berks EIT, we're doing the reimbursement.
Right, that's how we had done the tax relief when it was first rolled out.
That's not how the ordinance is written, so we're gonna need to, if we go through, if we do 50%, if we change, we need to redo the whole.
Right, and we redo it and make it consistent with Exeter.
And non-property owners that are,
They get the income tax credit as long as, they give the proper statements to Allison. And you have to qualify. It's not a given, just because you're a member of the department. It's not,
right, you have to put in your
you have to do
hours.
so many hours of work and show up to so many trainings and stuff like that. So it's not just handed to you.
Yeah, so I just looked up, I pay about $500 a month in taxes, okay? So if I was retired and I wanted to somehow take advantage of this and suddenly volunteer for the fire company or ambulance or something like that, what type of job would be available for some old handicapped person to try
Help
to?
with financial stuff, if you're handy,
Yeah.
mechanical stuff.
So that's like, so if I take $500 and then say, hey, bump that if I was to go work at Sheets for $15 an hour, to pay my taxes. So now you're talking about $650 a month, and that'd be about 44 hours a month. So that's like 10 hours a week.
What is that?
It's trying to recover that amount is what I'm trying to say. That'd be at 100% at $500.
I'm not following.
Oh, I'm taking the equivalent of the tax that I pay. If one route would be, hey, I can do volunteer
This is
work.
real estate tax.
This is real estate and municipal tax, only municipal.
This is my real estate. It's off my mortgage. Is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah, but it's
But not the school part.
only the
Just
borough
the
portion.
Just the
there's
borough
a borough portion.
Which is,
This
Well,
is-
maybe in the year you pay $500.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm just wondering. what
Or-
the
Yeah, so now I understand.
One more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
or less than 1,000.
I would think everybody here probably pays about $1,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
1,000.
I was just trying to understand the total amount, what that was, and the equivalent work, and how many hours that was going to equal.
Just the 6 point, whatever we're at, 6.8, whatever that we're at. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the school district.
Well, it would be if they grant it, right?
That would be great, yeah.
You want someone?
Sure. Sure, I'll give you all an application.
Well, so hear me out though, because I did this nice analysis on the back piece of paper. So if I was trying to get $500 a month in taxes wiped out, and my only other option by not being able to volunteer was to go get a job at $15 an hour, then all that equates to almost 10 hours per week. So how, so I'm trying to understand, is there 10 hours per week
I
that
believe.
is going to be from a volunteer
I
organization?
have to look at the letter. I'm 1,000 as a copy. I believe it's 200 hours or
Yeah, I don't have any.
12 training. I mean, there's all different ways
Yeah,
to come up.
and I don't think you can equate so many hours of working at Cheats behind the counter versus somebody who is having to respond at 2 o'clock in the morning to a fire and being available.
I believe if you're
And-
not,
Yeah, that wasn't really my point. My point was, if I wanted to gain tax relief on this route, what was the equivalent if I wasn't eligible
well,
to go that route? How would I do it?
you'd have to put in 200 hours to get about $500. So
Right.
what's that?
Right.
$252 an hour.
Well, you know, it's one day, it's one more day, it's one day a week. But if you're full-time, then that sounds like you have to put in almost one day a week in the volunteer work. Is that about right?
Yeah,
So I'm giving up the 400 hours.
Anybody who's volunteering for the money.
No, but I'm still, right, but you're still, I'm not presenting my point, because I'm clumsily pointing out, you know, it's almost 8 hours every week to get that equivalent to earn income that's now being given as a,
It's about 5
Correct.
hours. If you get
yeah, so that's what I was curious about. What is the minimum?
200 per year.
200 per year. Yeah, that's about half of what the equivalent would be in my analysis, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's easier working at Sheets than it is to do what the fire department does.
Absolutely.
Once again, I'm just trying to understand.
I'd rather work at Sheets than do that.
Understand the economics of it.
You just can't equate it. Yeah. This is to help the fire companies to support the volunteer.
The
base.
big hit will be is if the school gets on board. Because we
That
have,
would be huge.
I gotta be honest with you, we have some members, they will become more active if the school board gets on board.
Light and self-interest.
Have you seen any increase in recruiting and retention since this passed?
Yes,
How many?
I see 4 people come back.
Huh.
I haven't seen
And
any.
how active are they?
They come to training and a call if they're not at work.
Well, yeah, they're not, I get
So
that.
I see them once a week at training,
But
which is more than I've seen them in the past year.
what is the criteria for this? Is fire police also involved in this? Is ambulance also?
Yeah, most EMS in the county anymore is not volunteer. They're paid.
Yeah, they're on the payroll.
They're paid.
They may have some volunteers. I don't know if they,
but
well,
fire-
officers may have some
But
volunteers.
is fire police, because really fire police is under the police department though, right?
No, they're under fire.
Yeah.
Are they?
The
So
township,
So that's included too? And they do that much training too?
well, they put a lot of hours in at calls, yes.
I'm just asking.
And they do have some training.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, call me old school, but I volunteered to volunteer.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think where we are with the 20%, you know, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate, you know, what's being done, but, you know,
I'm trying to look at it as an equity point for all the citizens. That only, you know, I understand that benefit's desirable, but you know, now if someone comes in and says, hey, I volunteer at the library, helping kids with remedial reading, where's my opportunity for doing community work?
Go to your legislators and rally for it.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'll say what I said the last time this went around, when we first passed this, that I think the state dropped the ball on this. The state did this, they were able to pound their chest, say, look what we did to help the firefighters in Pennsylvania, and pushed it right down to the municipal level, where it was expensive to do and figure out, and they could have done this very easily at the state level with the state income tax.
Absolutely.
And then it would have been much more meaningful that they actually did something rather than just placed it off on the local municipalities.
Can't disagree with that.
Any other new business? General comments to council?
So are we gonna move on this or?
I want to see what the school district wants. You want to make a motion?
I thought the last discussion was we were going to see what the township did. And-
Yeah.
And we were gonna pretty much do what they did. That's the understanding I got 2 months ago.
I'm unclear. I thought we were gonna wait to see what the school district and the township did, or I didn't realize we were just gonna pick one or the other. Because I knew the biggest amount was probably gonna be the school district.
Right. And I wouldn't expect the school district to go higher than 50%, even if they go that high.
Yeah, they may be much lower than that, but the dollars are so big.
You know, 20% is of what they have in a tax bill is probably equal to 80% of what we have in a tax bill, you know. I just think it would be upsetting if we don't do anything, knowing that the other municipality that neighbors us is doing more.
I still am leery of not having something in hand that says this person met these criteria and some of them.
I just gave 1,000 tonight.
Oh, so there's a document from a fire official documenting the hours and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying?
They certify that person's eligible.
Okay.
And we're talking what, 3 people or something?
Yes, one from Mount Penn, 2 from Exeter, or, yeah, 1 Mount Penn, 2 Exeter.
That's what I thought, 3 people.
And last year it was 2. That took advantage of it.
I think we should do whatever we can to help their ability to get volunteers.
So
I'll make a motion that we go do the 50% off the borough tax for people that meet the criteria.
And I'll second it, since you have a conflict of
Yeah, I'll abstain.
you'll say you.
Do you have a copy of what Exeter has advertised?
I do not.
Oh, I mean, I can get it, it's no
That
problem.
I don't.
Why don't we wait until we get the copy of what Exeter did to make sure that, because you're talking 2 different, you're talking EIT and you're talking real estate.
Mhm.
So you have to make sure that both match.
And I believe they already were going through the county for the income tax part of it, where we weren't.
Well, right, because it just didn't work out for us, and for the few people that we
Right, it was
have,
just simpler.
it was just simpler to create the reimbursement ourselves, so. It's easy enough to get a copy of whatever Exeter does, I can ask them for one.
If you want to make it contingent that Exeter actually does the 50%.
Yeah, they haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, so once they have it, then we'll grab it, and are they retroing it back to, or is it for this year? It's not for last year.
Well,
I'll get there. Hold on.
I can't speak for them, but I would imagine once it's.
I'd have to look at,
You know,
Out of curiosity, Mount Penn, do you know what they're doing?
The borough?
Yeah,
No
the borough.
idea.
Is
I don't
that,
think they have anything.
should that say under perjury of law?
Anything.
Solicitors, should that say?
It's a certification and it's notarized, so if it's false, it's perjury by definition.
Okay. You're making a motion?
well,
I made the motion, we can, you want to table that until
please, till next month,
to
we'll get
verify what Exeter has.
done, and then we can always have it created, and we have to look and see. I would assume that they're doing it for 2021.
Are they retroactively?
I don't know that. I wasn't at
But
the
I
meeting.
don't know, so until we get it in hand, we won't know.
But we're doing not a credit, we're doing a reimbursement.
Reimbursement is how we,
We're authorizing a reimbursement?
yes.
That's what had been done in the past. was they-
Right.
So they have to
It's-
pay their full taxes according to, we don't change their taxes in any way.
Right.
I think it's because the county has no way of doing that on a tax bill.
So,
Just
yeah,
saying, okay, well,
I
you're
think,
gonna pay a lot of money to have 2 properties,
Yeah.
get it
Just
taken
out
off of
of,
that.
out of curiosity, in the state and federal tax, is that then taxable and how did this?
It is not as far as.
Because if it's on their tax bill, they take the full tax bill off their income tax.
that's between them and their tax.
Not if you don't itemize.
Yeah.
You take the standard deduction.
Right, that's good. Which most of
And
us
that-
do.
Yeah,
that is.
Not all of us have
that's
property in the
exactly
Cayman
how-
Islands, like you, so.
I don't have 30 grand in write-offs.
And then we can get it in hand, see it,
Yeah, 'cause-
and then everybody can see it, and then authorize it for advertisement next month. Right.
Yeah, so the procedure would be, the proof of payment of the tax would occur, we would reimburse the percentage back. That's what we.
Based upon getting a
Based
certified.
upon getting the certification for that calendar year.
Yeah.
So we all understand what we think our process will be advertised.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm fine with that.
Any other new business or general comments to council?
I guess, Susan, Marion told me the women's club, I'm gonna go back to the class. We're considering paying for having frames and
They would contribute to it.
to contribute toward it.
So we have to find out, I already talked to Derek about that, about what the cost was gonna be, and I talked to Allison about that. The women's club kind of needs to know how much it's gonna cost, so
Right.
there's in our budget to contribute toward that.
The more sandwiches that get sold on election day.
That's the reason why, that's why the reason we can afford to do it.
Yeah.
Because we weren't planning on making $2,000 and we did, so.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Cease broadcast.